Why don't men talk about their feelings? Is the macho man syndrome still alive and kicking in spite of all the awareness about its detriment? Let's talk about machismo on today's show. Hello everyone, hello and welcome to another exciting episode of The Moment Show with Pastor Funke. The show where you learn something new every time. Thank you. I have an amazing audience here in the studio, and I also heartily welcome all of you that are joining us from home, and especially those of you that send in questions, comments. You follow us on all my social media handles. Now, it's not easy to be vulnerable in a society that demands that men be tough, like many others who've suffered with challenges in silence. The traditional views of past generations have played a role in man's struggle to open up about his emotions. The command and control mentality of our fathers and grandfathers, with their emphasis on stoicism and emotional suppression, has had a lasting impact on how men view vulnerability. Now, the idea that men should not express feelings of sadness or weakness has helped to weaken the mental health of some men. Why is it that asking for help is one of the hardest things for a man to do? My guest on today's show is someone you already know. We were privileged to have him before on one of our episodes. He's a minister, he speaks wonderfly, is worded in scriptures, he's a legal practitioner, and he is Barrister Ochali Ojonimi Okutekpa. Please welcome him to The Moment Show.
Thank you.
Barrister Ochali Okutekpa, welcome again.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful, wonderful privilege for us to have you again on The Moment Show. I thoroughly enjoyed the last time you were here.
My pleasure.
You're so passionate about the things of God and, of course, helping people to come out from under the weight of all manner of vices of the enemy. Now, my first question is, why should a man not cry?
Oh, why should a man not cry? Well, it's an age-long problem. It's not a modern problem. It's not today's civilization problem. The world is dealing with things that have passed down from generation to generation, perception, culture,
yes.
And all of that. So a man should cry, but even a man who is welling up with tears is afraid to cry because you don't expect him to cry. So if you say, why should a man not cry? It's because the man is not even wired to cry.
So do we inadvertently, by our behaviors, expectations, actually help the man suppress his emotions when he should be free to express?
Absolutely. When I said wired, that's not speaking about God. Because there are two wirings. There's the wiring that God makes. There's the wiring that culture creates. So if you have a 5-year-old son and you say to him, you're a man, why are you crying? Now, you've registered something on his inside that will live with him for the rest of his life.
Whoa.
So it's an imprinting. And you see, informal education is stronger than formal education.
Yes.
I didn't go to school to speak my tribe. I went to school to speak English, and I still have English blunders. But the one I didn't go to school for, I'm quite fluent, all right, because I was exposed to it. So an average man is under demand from people, from life, from culture, from everything, not to express emotion. So when he's afraid to even express emotions.
Yes.
Because there are a range of consequences for expressing emotion. He's seen as weak when he's strong.
Yes.
He's seen as having failed when he's making all the effort to succeed.
Absolutely.
And that's why an average man without anybody's pressure is under pressure of not failing.
Wow.
You don't have to say anything to a man. He's already pressured not to fail. So he walks into a room, he's assessing who is wearing designer shoe and is not. He walks into a place and is wondering who is driving what that he's not driving. He's living in his own house, but he suddenly realizes that he's not living in the highbrow area. but it's his house. He built it.
And it's still not enough.
Nothing is enough until a man decides that it's enough.
Whoa. Okay.
So it's my decision. I have to benchmark where I stop. Because you are never, I was teaching somewhere and I tell them, if we wanted to go for all I think about, my wife should be out of my life. I'm not the richest. I'm not even the president. Let's start from that. So when talk about first lady, I cannot create a first lady right now. I don't even know what number she is in Nigeria. Maybe 75 million. You get what I mean? Yes. So if a man doesn't stop himself and realizes that you can't be defined by these things, then he's in trouble. So that's why men bottle up a lot, not because they shouldn't or can't express emotions. And unfortunately, anytime you don't give expression, you implode. So True. This is not a thing he can contain. And that's why a lot of things we call vices for men today are just proofs of implosion.
Yes.
So there's a man somewhere leaning on a girl that is not his wife because he needs to let out somewhere. So somebody just looked at me like, hey, side chick. Excuse me, can we go to the origins of vices? Can we ask, is that not an expression point? That's a big question. Because you see, some people are able to speak in dysfunctional places what they cannot speak or say in functional places. So if I can't come to you and unburden, I'm going to unburden somebody who will listen to me. And that's why sometimes I ask married people, both male and female, who is talking to your spouse?
Absolutely.
Who is listening to your spouse? Who has their time? Because you see, there's the vice of normalizing things.
Yes.
So I've been married to you 10 years, so, tomorrow you still come back home. Even if we fight, now this house you go come.
So I can go out somewhere else and listen to somebody or unload on somebody. Kind of like the way I see it in scripture is that whilst Adam was out there doing work, the serpent befriended his wife.
Exactly.
And convinced her to take the wrong fruit.
Exactly.
Wow. How crucial is it for men to start talking about mental health, especially in view of suicides now that are coming up? It used to be like, we Africans are tougher. We are tough. We're tough people. But now, we're seeing it, both men and women committing suicides. Is it too late?
Before I came here this afternoon, I'm dealing with a story right now, right in Abuja, not somewhere else. It happened last night.
A suicide?
Yes. Oh, my word. Yeah. In fact, that's the call I was taking before I came here. So it's real. It's never too late, but we need to be honest about how long the battle is ahead of us. Because if you don't count the cost of the journey, nobody's really going to take the journey. And everybody needs to get involved, not just the men, right? It's important to speak about it. That's why some of us do. We really talk about it. But we have to go beyond talking about it. We have to raise a critical mass of male humans who are able to show that expressing emotion does not mean I'm weak.
Absolutely.
Because if you just talk about it and there are no people showing that I am great enough but weak enough, and let me even draw this example. Do you realize that the billionaires of the world have not been able to keep their own marriages? It's very simple. That means there are issues beyond wealth, influence, affluence, and whatever. They've not been able to keep their homes. You can call names upon names. It's public information.
I just ran through my mind, and I was just reading out some names of the world's billionaires.
That's what it is. So they can make money. Because, in fact, I had to do a bit of research into that to give myself comfort. Because when we began to teach relationship and marriage, it appeared to be the business of jobless people who don't have something serious to talk about. Then I realized that the most serious of people on earth have this common problem. So it should be serious business.
Yeah. Wow.
So unfortunately, when it comes to the mental health of the male and how much they are not speaking, we're not coming out enough to both say and show that it is normal to have emotions. Because there's a big lie out there, especially in the space where relationship and marriage is taught, where we say women are emotional, men are logical. It sounds true, but it's not. Very, very, very not true. Because that puts the man in the place. Hope you know, to actually have logic, you have to be emotional. Because, for example, the logic of thoughtfulness is the emotion of understanding consequences.
Yes.
If I treat you this way, you will feel this way. So I become thoughtful because I can relate to the emotion.
Exactly.
And that's why God himself, coming on earth as man, left us one of the biggest principles we should think about in discussing this subject that we don't often talk about. We do not have a high priest who cannot be taught by the feelings of our infirmity. So Jesus himself cannot relate to us until he relates to our emotion.
Wow. And
that's why sometimes you treat people in a certain way and even God is surprised. Like, now you die for this person.
Wow.
Somebody's repenting, you are condemning. Me, I'm sitting here, I know the journey he has taken.
Yes.
You are looking at his sin in 2024. I am looking at the root cause of the sin in 1984. So I am dealing with the trauma, the emotion he has been through. So you are judging him for his act, and I am regarding his history.
His history. We're going to take a break, and wow, if you even get up, you may miss something special. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Yes. Thank you so very much, studio audience. We are back, still speaking with my dynamic guest, Barrister Ochali, because your dad is in the same business, so we know which one we're speaking about. So, traditional masculinity norms can sometimes discourage men, right, from seeking help. How can we redefine masculinity so that it's balanced and not excluding some virtues and aspects that men direly need?
You see, the issue with earth is once a thing goes on long enough, it becomes the norm.
Yes.
So we must look at traditional settings and culture and be able to call out what is a dysfunction about what we have become used to. So because the word norm and normal, just defines a lot of times what is wrong that has become accepted.
Truly.
Because if you do the wrong thing long enough, it becomes a culture. Now, speaking as a believer, sometimes it's humbling to see for a believer like me, who believes that the only way to the Father is Jesus, and until you confess him as Lord and Savior, you have missed it. It's humbling and painful to look across the world and see the percentage of people who do not just reject that truth, but hold on to a different fact as truth. So you see, that's how much, for me, a believer who do not believe in any other way, that's how much what is wrong can be completely accepted as culture, as way, as a belief system.
Sometimes even as what scripture says.
Exactly. So you see, when you now look at it, the first thing we should do is to define what is abnormal. That's why, you see, we have a son, and I let him be vulnerable. I let him be human. Because you steal something from his humanity when you expect him to be without emotions. So the balance is you let him know that he should be strong. You let him know that strong people are made through pain. Because our muscles are developed through pressure. So I'm not saying you don't take pressure, but I'm saying you come out of pressure, you may be weeping but standing. And that's what the Bible says, haven't done all to stand. Stand. There's a doing.
Yeah.
So it's not to deny the process, but demand the product. There are two different things.
Yes.
So I acknowledge the process. Did that hurt? Yes, it did. In fact, I take that even into discipline. We have 3 children. The discipline that applies to each of them is quite different. My first daughter, just speaking to her can make her tear up. she likes to always be right, prim and proper. So acknowledging that something is wrong is enough. There are children you have to say, okay, you are going to face the world there. You apply some punishment before it goes in.
True.
And sometimes that, Daddy, that's painful. I say, that's why I'm doing it. I am not doing it so that you can smile.
Enjoy it.
So you see, at that moment, what you are doing is you are acknowledging process. Because to buttress that point, foolishness comes installed in the heart of a child. You know, like when you get a phone, there are apps that comes with it. Foolishness is the one that is installed. It's parenting that uninstalls it. So in that process, pain will happen.
More specifically, the rod of
exactly. You know, pain will happen.
Sure.
You will let him cry.
Yeah.
If my wife I learned from that if you beat a child, let him cry. And that tears has never killed a child.
So I had to, totally.
I had to step back and understand that. So we must learn to let boys, because you see, very often we speak about men. Men are a product of boys.
True.
So men are boys that have emerged.
True.
And they emerge through what we focused on. So we need to focus on them and let them know it's okay. Like when I told my son at a point, you don't have female friends, and I'm concerned.
Yeah.
He was 9 at the time. I say, you are no kutepa. I sent you to a mixed school so that you can mix. So I cannot see 15 friends. 14 and a half are male. No, sir, it's not going to work.
Absolutely.
Because you see, a lot of times we damage men through denial. Your father suspected your first girlfriend. He was not bold enough to talk. Oh, boy, talk so that I can give you babe allowance. You are making it open.
Yeah.
So it's very clear. Because the pocket money I'm giving you is not enough.
Yeah.
So you understand? You see, I can send a
do.
recharge card, you can buy Fanta, just something.
Yes.
At that point, you are relating with him. Why am I saying this? I was not talking parenting, I'm going somewhere. All right, because you come to the point where an average boy, before he becomes an adult, has learned to live his real life to the exclusion of the people who think they are in his life. Because they couldn't break into what mattered to him. Boy is waking up with an erection he did not negotiate for. He just woke up. God is checking the equipment, whether the equipment is alive. He's having wet dreams. Nobody's talking. Everybody is pretending over his reality.
Yeah.
That person cannot be vulnerable. So that person learns to, find his comfort in anything that gives him comfort. That person learns to keep secret. Then you want him to marry and be telling his wife secret. It's not going to happen. Wow. He doesn't trust the people he should have trusted. So you create a system of trust for the boy to know that people can be trusted.
A lot of what is going on has been going on for so long.
Longer than we know.
Longer than we know. I've got only 22 minutes left. What can women, whether as mothers, wives, sisters, and friends, do to help our men?
If you didn't ask this one, I would have asked it by myself. I once listened to a teaching. It sounded so harsh, but the man was right. He was speaking about a particular year and said God showed him that women can help their men not to die this year. And he thought about a lot of things. But I'm going to highlight one that I believe in. Just act like Jesus. A woman was caught in the very act of adultery and they brought her to Jesus. Let's forget about not bringing the man. Jesus dispelled them by asking them who sinned first. When Jesus was done with that whole conversation with the people and dispelled the people, he turned to the woman and said, go sin no more. Jesus didn't do well according to my own carnal standards. And I said, Madam, come, hope you know adultery is bad. Jesus said nothing about her past, said everything about the future.
My God.
Completely said nothing. He didn't enter his curriculum to address it.
Yes.
Men are often scared of the judgment of women more than anybody on earth. Yeah. And that's why nobody can call out the strength of a man like his woman. And the first woman in the life of a man is his mother. So you see, a lot of women are looking for the husband they are not calling out. So they are helping the system of the world to kill him. He's already facing all the pressure. The pressure that will kill him faster is the one that comes from the one that he chose.
Yes.
So if she's not able to call out the strength in him, his mental health crisis at another PhD level.
Wow.
Because his wife is contributing to it. When men pick a woman, they actually pick their highest cheerleader. Imagine the one you look up to for validation, turning you down. Not just turning you down, comparing you, attacking you, making life, she's like the icing on the cake of pressure.
Wow. If you're just joining us, you need to go and check this show out on YouTube or any of the other stations. Whether you're a man or a woman, this is schooling. You need to see this show. I wish we had more time. In fact, honestly, I wish we could just stay here for the next 1 hour. God bless you.
Yeah, thank
Barrister Ochali. Thank you, everyone, and welcome back to the Ask segment of our show. Now, today I'm joined by my good friend, Mazi Prosper. But first, let me read a mail that was sent by one of our online viewers. The mail reads, when you are offended by someone, will you wait for the person to ask you for forgiveness first? Or should you forgive the person? And this was sent from Tosi. Thank you very much, Tosi. And thank you for always following us and sending the question. Now, for me, unforgiveness is much more a burden for the person that, chooses to not forgive someone than the person that hurt you. So if somebody has hurt you, whether they come to ask you for forgiveness or not, please, in a big hurry, forgive them. I always say, I forgive for me, not for anyone else. I need to forgive you so that I can move on. For example, when I am angry at somebody, I can't sleep well. I don't know about anybody else. So I need to walk that situation through my mind immediately so that I let them go. When they now come and ask forgiveness, which may sometimes not be for 2-3 years, right? I can't be carrying somebody for that long. So please, quickly forgive them, let them go, and move on. When they now come, it's just an addition. All right. Okay. So, over to you, Mazi. Take it away.
Yes, Pastor Funke, thank you very much. What a privilege to hang out with Pastor Funke again. In a moment with Pastor Funke is always an enlightening and exciting time. Today I learned a lot, especially with our guest. Wow. I mean, Barrister, you almost pulled my feet off the ground. But There are some people in the studio also who couldn't believe what they heard. The part of a mother in the life of a man is very, very important.
True.
But while we're doing that, I have one of our studio guests, a very handsome man. I don't know which part of the ear he listened with, but we're going to hear his question. Mr. Solomon, please.
Wonderful time here. Actually, I have lots of questions, but let me take one. Very good teaching. I remember sometimes back when I lost my dad, someone came to me and said to me that there are two people in your life. Whatever they say is what people will take. And these two persons are firstly your mother and then secondly your wife. And I am so happy that the guest has spoken so much about this. So I want to ask this question. What strategies can a man use to help his men to prioritize his mental health where the woman in his life is not supportive enough and is not understanding how he can manage his mental health?
That's tough. I can just imagine that will be a very, very tough position. So let me first say this. For men that are not married, please choose wisely, okay? Because now you are seeing the repercussions of marrying somebody that's not fitted right with you. Now, but if the deed is done, right, I would say that if you still have your mother, then that's a good person. Your mom will always be your mother. That's a wonderful thing about mothers, right? If you're good to her, you're keeping her in your life, your mother will always help you to draw out, the strength to forge ahead. So don't forget the place of your mother, right? I would also say spiritual leaders or those around you that God has given you, that your spiritual help. You may not have a female pastor like me. It may be maybe counselors in the church, or maybe your pastor's wife, if she's experienced enough and elderly enough, matured enough to help you. Your pastor as well, even if he is not a woman, those are people that you can go. But I will also say that a good friend, the Bible talks about there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. You need to draw on each other. Friends will sharpen one another. Okay? So I would say those people, your mother, your spiritual counselors, a good friend, and maybe a good brother or sister. So people have good sisters that can even stand in the place of their mothers. So I would say, a good sister and a good friend. The one that I'm a bit skeptical about is maybe a female friend. And that's because I've seen that go wrong sometimes, So I would limit it to those kinds of people to help you through a situation like that. All right. Thank you so very much. We are way, way, way well out of time. And I know you've been blessed as much as I have been in today's show. This show truly is about enlightenment, is about transformation, is about getting the right person on the inside of you to come out. And I'm grateful to my guest today, Barrister Ochali Okutepa. Yes, please, let's clap for him. And also my amazing guests, please clap for yourselves as well. Awesome.